This is Qtv News. I am Maria Masani, and thanks for joining us. Here are the main local, international, and business news headlines. A parliamentary bill that hopes to increase women's participation in this country's political decision-making has been validated by civil society organizations and partners. Food safety stakeholders have validated the developed procedural manual of the National Codex Contact Point under the Codex Alimentarius Commission. The manual relates to food safety. The mayor of Kanifing, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, has ended his 4-day walking visit to meet his counterpart, the mayor of Freetown, Sierra Leone. Mayor Bensouda says the trip was a success. Also, while in Freetown, the KMC mayor visited Susan Bay, a slum area that was being completely destroyed by fire, leaving 7,000 people homeless. In business, traders have converged on Farfanya for an international trade fair. We also have the foreign exchange rates. In international news, have a roundup of stories from across Africa. Those were our main headlines, now the news in detail. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Gambia has low representation rates for women in its parliament. The National Assembly, a bill that recommends reserving more seats for women in the National Assembly, has been validated by the civil society gender platform and other stakeholders in the hopes of promoting women's representation in the country's decision-making process. Babu Karsi reports.
The purpose of the bill, according to the organizers, is to increase women's representation into the National Assembly as well as in the political spectrum. The proposed bill, if voted into law, will increase the number of National Assembly members from 58 to 71, out of which 16 seats will be reserved for women. This means about 22% of our parliamentarians will be women. At the event, the president of the civil society organization's gender platform, Tabu Njai Sar, highlighted the importance of having this bill voted into law.
It is interesting to note that there are only 6 female parliamentarians out of 53. In 2017, 22 female candidates contested in the April 2017 National Assembly elections. Out of all 238 candidates contested, but it was only 3 that made it to the National Assembly. And that's why it is important that we see a way forward to ensure that women's representation are increased, and that is why we have such a forum today.
According to consultant Janet Salanjai, women constitute only 17.39% at cabinet level, with only 4 women out of 23 cabinet positions.
And 10.2% level at the National Assembly. Out of 58 National Assembly members, we have only 6. This underrepresentation is due to the cultural biases that favor men and inhibit women's participation in the political arena. I must also record that it is commendable that the Vice President of the Republic, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and 2 of the judges at the Apex Court in the Gambia, the Supreme Court, these are the 3 arms of government, are women. We have 2 Supreme Court judges, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and the Vice President. These women leaders should be role models and mentors for other women, and their presence should also have a positive impact on gender equality. However, experience has shown that simply adding few women in key senior positions is insufficient to address inequalities.
The National Assembly member for Banjul South, Honorable Tumanjai, said the bill is overdue and called on her fellow National Assembly members to vote in favor when the time comes.
One of the major reasons Africa lags behind developmentally compared to other continents is because the women and the youth have not been given their rightful places in governance. Thus, targeting women, the youth, and the physically challenged at this critical time in our political space is just the strategic thing to do. This aims at including everyone in advancing our continent.
If the proposed legislation is passed, it will provide for 53 elected NAMs unchanged from the current legislation and additional 14 seats reserved for women. 2 elected from each of the country's 7 administrative areas, and an additional 2 selected members elected by the Disability Society, with one of those selected being a woman. Of the 2 nominated members by the President, at least one of those nominated should be a woman. The legislation will also have the effect of reducing from 5 to 2 the number of Assembly members nominated by the President. Babukarsi, QTV News.
Food safety stakeholders on Monday gathered at a local hotel to validate the developed procedural manual of the National Codex Contact Point under the Codex Alimentaris Commission. Alucisa reports.
This validation exercise is a culmination of a series of consultations with stakeholders on the procedural manual that will guide and facilitate the work of the National Codex Contact Point under the Codex Alimentarius or Food Code Commission. The Commission is a joint FAO and WHO food standards program responsible for formulating standards, codes of practice, guidelines, and recommendations that constitute the Codex Alimentarius. Over the years, the Codex Alimentarius has become an important global reference point for consumers, food producers and processors, national food control agencies, and all those involved in the international food trade. In the Gambia, the Codex Contact Point, CCP, and the National Codex Committee, NCC, were set up about 2 decades ago with the National Nutrition Agency as the Codex Contact Point and Secretariat of the NCC. However, with the enactment of the Food Safety and Quality Act 2011 and the establishment of Food Safety and Quality Authority, FSQA, the Codex Contact Point was moved to the FSQA. Malang Fofana, chairman of the National Codex Committee, described the gathering as an important milestone in the country's food control system.
Every country requires the Codex to help them to guide its citizenry and the consumers in general on how to ensure that the food that they consume in their countries is safe and of high quality and standard.
The Codex Contact Point acts as the link between the Gambia and the Codex Secretariat in Rome and share with all concerned stakeholders all received documents. The CCP also coordinates and promotes all relevant Codex activities within the Gambia. Dr. Mustafa Sise, Assistant FAO Country Representative, said the development of the manual is timely and appropriate to guide national effort to ensure food safety.
I would also like to take this opportunity on behalf of the FAO Country Representative to thank the government of the Gambia, the Food Safety and Quality Authority, the National Nutrition Agency, for making this collaboration possible.
This initiative will complement the work of FSQA to avoid foodborne diseases and guarantee safe food for people. Mahmoud Ba, Director General of FSQA, welcomes the validation of the document, noting there is a need to invest resources in this area.
This work, is our mandate, is our function. So we have to lead in this, We really have to lead in this, and we have to show that we are going to lead in this, and effectively for that matter. So that is just to show our readiness to do more and do better.
Baidu Rijalo, Director of Scientific Affairs, said the manual is developed under the Codex Trust Fund project. Apparently, the high burden of disease in some regions is because of inefficient implementation of food safety management systems. Therefore, training of national food safety experts should remain high on the agenda of the National Food Safety Authority. Reporting for QTV News, I am Alu Sise.
The mayor of KMC, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, says his one-week trip to Freetown was a success. Mayor Bensouda and Yvonne Akisoyer earlier on Friday signed an MOU on key areas to better their 2 cities. Our reporter Mamudu Gajiga spoke to the Kanifing mayor, and this is his report.
These 2 cities have agreed to cooperate in 6 areas: waste management, climate change, revenue mobilization, affordable housing, market infrastructure, and public transport. The one-week trip took Mayor Bensouda to several areas of need in Freetown, learning how work is done differently from the KMC.
Really, the trip was amazing. It exceeded all our expectations. Mayor Akisoya rolled out the red carpet. His Excellency President Madabio, he welcomed us at his home and encouraged us and supports the partnership. So it was a very successful trip.
Waste management is an area KMC are trying to tackle with the Mbalit and Waste Bins project. However, recycling of waste is a priority for Mayor Bensouda. He says seeking partnership with fellow African nations seemed more viable.
Mayor Yvonne Akisoya is doing a good job in tackling some of these problems. So we thought it best to go and twin our cities to start the technical exchanges, because we no longer think it's always best to go to Western countries because they are far more developed than us. It's better to go to neighboring countries that share similar problems because it's easier to adapt their solutions to our current problems.
Mayor Bensouda also gave his impression on some of the areas Freetown City Council are successfully implementing, which include an initiative to plant 1 million trees, digital property rate system using Google Plus codes, form of housing and location addressing system, and regional cooperation to introduce sanitary landfill. Mamudu Gajaga, Qtv News.
From the story, we will take a commercial break. Still to come, we have some more local news stories. Don't go away. Welcome back. A reminder that you're watching Qtv News coming to you live from our studios along the Caraba Avenue. I am Maria Masane. Victims of the Susan's Bay fire disaster in Freetown reflected on the challenges they face after the March 24th fire, which has rendered thousands homeless. They shared their reactions with QTV during a visit by the KMC mayor and Freetown City's Council's mayor. Murugajaga reports.
There is still a post-disaster look of the victims' faces, and they look like people who resigned to their fate. After the March 24th fire, which almost destroyed everything, many of the 7,000 people who used to live here are now in temporary makeshift shelters. These tents provide at least a place where they can lay their heads for now.
Very disastrous, but thank God we didn't lose any life, but we lost so much property. Thank God for that. We didn't lose any life. My house calmed down. I lost so many properties, and there am I. I don't have so many clothes to wear again. I'm here clothesless, you know.
You see, Nadande, so no able to pull nothing. Well, tell God thank you. Whole life not left there. We tell God thank you.
Relief efforts are ongoing with food distribution to the families of those affected. Food items such as rice and cooking oil have been provided for by the government in partnership with the City Council and other relief agencies.
The items that we are distributing now, they are the ones we received from His Excellency, the 1,600 bags of rice and 800 jerry can of oil and some other items from donor partners. And if you go to the field, you can see Caritas are doing cooking every day for over 5,000 to 6,000 people, giving them breakfast in the morning and lunch in the afternoon hours. But I'm still pleading to ONS for the people that are left out.
Susan's Bay is a slum in Freetown where housing and sanitation are very poor. An urgent solution is needed for these families before the rainy season hits, which could mean more disaster for them. Mayor Yvonne Akisoya talks about their plans to find solutions.
I will continue to advocate for land use planning and building permits. I keep saying it doesn't mean the problem is going to be solved overnight simply because the councils are in charge. No, we're not saying that. But we believe it's the beginning to solving the problem because there is no planning. And you can see behind you huge structures.
Poor management of land, lack of planning for settlements leads to people settling in slums. Mayor Bensouda says, although there has been disasters like market fires and people settling in floodplain areas back home in the Gambia, they have not been on the scale of Susan's Bay problem.
I think what I see here is not something to lose hope over or to be depressed. It's just smarter policies and devolution of powers and giving councils the opportunity to fix some of these problems. Because it's very difficult sometimes for central government to come down at these very local level. And that's why you have local authority. They are closer to the people. I just met the councillor. She's a tough person. And I think if the opportunity was there to better plan their land, just like for us, we could probably tackle the solution much better.
Mamudu Kajaga, Qtv News.
To ensure children have good verbal communication skills, it is vital to expose them to public speaking activities such as spelling bees. Take Him Transformation Organization held its 7th National Spelling Bee competition for lower basic schools over the weekend. More in this report by Jaina Basonko.
Is escalator.
ESCALATOR. Correct.
Studies have shown that spelling bee schemes help children to know the principles governing word formation. It helps them to understand that words are just not manipulated, but follow a certain structural pattern in their formation. Also, with spelling bees, children are exposed to various classes of words, which help to increase their vocabularies. Tunde Ogondimu, founder CEO TechM Transformation Organization, spoke to us about what pushed him, despite challenges, to reach the 7th edition of the Lower Basic School Spelling Bee competition.
And these are the future of tomorrow, and their tomorrow we are looking into start today. And the English language is tool of communication, and if these kids are sound now, when they get upstairs, you will see the best of them. That is why TechM, we put it on our head as a task. To be what? To be accomplished by you people.
It can be difficult securing funding for such programs. However, the Central Bank of the Gambia Second Governor Esa A.K. Drame says the central bank prioritizes capacity building in all aspects, thus the need to support such an endeavor.
Being the apex financial institution responsible for managing the funds of the Gambian people, we take capacity building very serious. That is why we associate ourselves with this National Spelling Bee. It is something that cut across the whole country. So we believe that if we support capacity building from the grassroots level, it will filter all the way down to the highest level. Then it will bring quality in terms of our civil service.
Aminata Gay of the Anne Marie Javwe Academy emerged victorious, and she managed a few more words when we spoke to her.
I feel so happy and I was impressed. And I'm thanking my family and our teachers and our school too, and my parents who made me come here today. And I'm thanking you so much.
Representatives from the Ministry of Education were also represented at the event. Activities such as spelling bee competition makes children become addicted to public speaking and develops their way of thinking, making them more responsible. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basonko.
Again, we will take a commercial break. Still to come, we have business and international news. Do keep watching. Business news. Traders from across the West African sub-region are in Farafeni to take part in a 17-day-long international trade fair, which started on Saturday, 27th March. The story by Don Williams is narrated by Lolly M. Kamara.
Farafenye, also known as Chaku Bantang, is in the North Bank region and is one of the busiest commercial towns. It also serves as a major crossing point between the north and south of Senegal. Councillor Papa Tunkara, who is also chairman of the organizing committee, told us about the event.
As we all know, Farafenye is a commercial center.
So this is why we invited them to come to Farafenni so that we can collectively do business effectively, so that people can also benefit from it with the council, with everybody, with the community of Farafenni, so that they can also see things that are very, very rare to see and very cheap things that are existing within the Senegambia region.
Echoing similar sentiments was former councillor Mamadou Lamine Diagne.
Everybody is quite aware of the economic impact that the COVID pandemic has brought on the African economies. So this is also one way where we can promote this ECOWAS protocol on the free movement of goods and services, and also establishing a common market. A borderless Africa. This is what the ECOWAS protocol is all about. So I believe organizing such activities on the ground is a kind of a first step, to realize that objective. So we are seeing ourselves as people who are coming forward to lend support, to that ECOWAS protocol.
Alhaji Mbaye, president and representative of the Senegalese counterpart of the organizers, also spoke about his expectations.
Farafenni moom yaakaar naa ne amuñu fi benn jafe-jafe parce que biñ ñëwee ñi fi fekk jàppee nañ ñu comme seen bopp.
Things have been going very fine for us here in Farafenni. Since our arrival, we felt at home because everyone welcomed us, including the elders and even the authorities. So we felt part of this community. Gambia and Senegal are two countries of the same people. This is a very good initiative.
Various traders, including Madam Mama Jakite, a fabric trader from Senegal and a traditional herbalist from Burkina Faso, all expect a successful trade fair. Modou Fau, an experienced trader in gold ornaments, who says he has taken part in similar trade fairs in the Gambia, has this to say.
I've been taking part in a trade fair for over a decade, especially the main trade fair in Bakau at the stadium. We are really feeling good because people are coming to buy our goods.
There were varieties of goods on display and quite a number of traders from various countries displaying their items. The initiative is to promote inter-regional trade in the Greater Senegambia region, and the fair comes to an end on 12th April. For Qtv News, Lolly M. Kamara.
And to end business news, here's a quick roundup of foreign exchange rates.
Here are the foreign currency exchange rates for the Gambian dalasi against a range of major currencies for the week, commencing Monday 12th April 2021. Against the US dollar, the dalasi is buying at 49.75 and selling at 51.75. Against the euro, the dalasi is buying at $59 and selling at 61.75. Against the pound sterling, the dalasi is buying at 65.75 and selling at 71.50. Against the CFA, the dalasi is buying at $415 and selling at $460. This daily currency rate on QTV News is brought to you by Ajib Bank, your investment partner.
Up next is international news. We have two stories as part of the African News Roundup.
Over 116,000 Somalis have been displaced by extreme water shortages since October 2020, according to a joint statement issued on Sunday by the UN and Somali authorities. More than 50 districts are facing moderate to severe drought conditions, said the statement, expressing deep concern over the worsening drought conditions. In the statement, Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management Minister Khadija Mohamed Diri appealed to donors to give generously and give now to help respond rapidly to the drought, which she said was compounding the effects of the various crises in the country. She added that Somalia is facing widespread food insecurity, malnutrition, population displacement, and disease. There are local media reports of several people, including children, dying from dehydration. Last month, Somalia called on the international donors to provide sufficient and early funding to scale up the country's emergency response capabilities. Up to 2.7 million people across the country are in need of humanitarian assistance, according to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. The regional head of the International Organization for Migration IOM said on Monday that 34 migrants had died after their boat capsized off Djibouti. The migrants were being transported by smugglers, wrote IOM's director for the East and Horn of Africa, Mohamed Abdikair. This is the second such tragedy in just over a month after 20 people died in the same Bab el-Mandeb Strait on 4th of March. The boat left Yemen with about 60 migrants on board, according to survivors. Many children are among the bodies found, a source within the IOM told AFP, indicating that the capsizing happened around 4 a.m. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which separates Djibouti from Yemen, is a place of heavy traffic and migrants and refugees, where both Yemenis fleeing the war and Africans going to try their luck in the Arabian Peninsula use as crossing. Babakar Sise, Qtv News.
Before we end this bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. A parliamentary bill that hopes to increase women's participation in this country's political decision-making has been validated by civil society organizations and partners. Food safety stakeholders have validated the developed procedural manual of the National Codex Contact Point under the Codex Alimentarius Commission. The manual relates to food safety. The mayor of Kanifing, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, has ended his 4-day working visit to meet his counterpart, the mayor of Freetown, Sierra Leone. Mayor Bensouda says the trip was a success. Also, while in Freetown, the KMC mayor visited Suzanne's Bay, a slum area that has been completely destroyed by fire, leaving 7,000 people homeless. In business news, traders have conversion for venue for an international trade fair. We also had the foreign exchange rates. In international news, we had a roundup of stories from across Africa. Thanks for watching. Do have a pleasant night.